a contact with God. It's Sanctuary of Reality, my comic review series. Time now for Cerebus issue 193, the 43rd chapter of Mothers and Daughters. A voice in Cerebus's head that isn't Cerebus's begins to speak to him, claiming to be his creator named Dave. He corrects Cerebus on the baker bread analogy, as Cerebus is the baker and his life is the bread. Cerebus thinks he might be going crazy, but Dave's voice does some tricks to show that he's not limited to being inside his head, and Dave proceeds to muck around with the memory of the pie he hit him with a minute ago. Dave also makes the stars go black for a moment, proving he's who he says he is. Dave claims that he went through the same thing himself 15 years prior, around issue 11, but instead of a voice, his eyes went all illuminati, and he does the same to Cerebus to show him how it was. After that, Dave knew what he wanted to do with the series, telling a larger story. Much of the situations of which he wanted him to face he knew about as of then. Dave goes over some of those situations that he put Cerebus through to see how he would react to them. Starting with a quick look back to Cerebus drunk as Prime Minister. Dave talks about Cerebus's marriage to Red Sophia, who actually did love him. When he was Pope, Cerebus had all the gold he could want, and Bear and Booba were his loyal allies, but as we see, Cerebus was still miserable and untrusting of all those around him. Dave goes back to the baker bread analogy and stresses how the only person who can make him happy is himself. Dave addresses Cerebus' obsession with Jaka and shows him exactly what Jaka was thinking when she gave Cerebus her "I love my husband" speech back during Jaka's story. She truly didn't love Cerebus then, having not done so in a while, but worried about what would happen to him if he took off angrily. So she thought of the right reaction to make him stay. Dave reveals that Jaka is actually alive and well, no longer married, but living with her uncle in Palnu. Cerebus's joy is short-lived when Dave explains that she's reminded of Cerebus only by the looks of greedy men around her who want to control her. Dave shows a moment from her life recently when she had her portrait painted. The lengthy conversations involved in both commissioning the work and talking to the artist are included. The painting properly expresses Jaka's isolation and confinement in her current position in life. This is followed by Jaka exchanging broken eggshell with the artist, a metaphor for the fact his painting is helping her on the road to escaping the prison she currently finds herself in. Cerebus, not understanding anything Dave showed him about her, is asked by Dave what exactly he knows about Jaka, other than the fact that he loves her. What exactly does Cerebus know about Jaka? So this is really the culmination of the whole Victor Davis thing from back in Reed's. What it did was basically gave Dave an input into Cerebus's fictional world to voice himself, essentially. I'm sure a lot of other writers would have just stuck themselves in there any old time, but the transcendental way that it was done really impressed me. Purportedly, just as Dave claims in this issue, he really did come up with the broad strokes for the series right around issue 11, back when the cockroach first appeared. I hear there was a lot of LSD involved and a psych ward visit. How much exactly of the series' story was formulated then hasn't ever been quite detailed. But like I said, it was most likely broad strokes on things, giving him a lot more wiggle room to maneuver issue to issue and even sometimes storyline to storyline. I doubt he came up with a Sandman parody a decade before the book came out, for instance, but who knows with him, with what he went through. This issue gives greater insight into Jaka as a character, even touching upon what she's up to in life more than anything has done since the end of Jaka's story a while back. It's probably the most profound look at her character that we'll ever get in the entire series. She's not the most profound of characters to begin with, but as we can see with her conversations with the painter, that she's actually very, very good at covering that up. Much like Cerebus, we didn't really know much about her internally until this issue, so this one does a good job of rectifying that to a very large degree. This is an all-right issue. It goes pretty well until we reach the transcription of Jaka's commissioning for the painting. Then it grinds to a halt because of all of the text, basically. The font size gets really, really small during this, and the intentionally pretentious banter between Jaka and Zoli, it all really just serves to bog down the pacing of this issue. But I think that's supposed to be the point. Just like Cerebus doesn't understand what the heck she's talking about, we too should have a little bit of trouble in reading her conversation, really. It does sidetrack the issue a little bit, but otherwise it's a good issue otherwise than that. I just had trouble getting through this one when I hit the middle, essentially. Next time, a Siren by Any Other Name.